Hello, hello, and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and this is a place where we share real life experiences so you can learn from those experiences and maybe apply some of them to your life. It's a very, very safe place, and we're just going to get right into this thing. I am so excited to have with us today Sarah Franzen. She, I just met Sarah just now. And so, we don't go way back, but I was introduced to Sarah, and I use that word introduced very, very loosely on a LinkedIn post that she posted that really, really it just totally captured my attention because it had to do a lot with the kinds of things that we talk about here. And what she said is, as I begin my 50th lap around the sun, I thought I'd share 49 things that I learned over my 50 years or nearly 50 years. And so, uh, um, yeah. So everybody, this is Sarah. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
I am thrilled. I am so happy. So tell folks a little bit about yourself and what you're doing these days and what makes you happy.
So I'm Sarah Franzen. I just last year launched my consulting company, which is RevZen, which is very exciting for me. So my vocation right now is that I'm a recovering musician. I
You're a
started the first
recovering musician. What does that mean? You're a recovering musician.
by vocation. So I started
Okay.
my
Okay.
career in music and music education and performance. And the last part of my career, the last 15-ish, 20, almost 20 years, which is weird to think about. Last 15 years have been really in on the business side. So I kind of have a kind of a bifurcated education. So I kind of started out in the music side and then came around to education. That's where I've been the last 15-ish years or so. And yeah, so really firmly planted right now in the short-term rental space. Was working with a property manager, an amazing company, Natural Retreats, for 8.5 years or so prior to doing my own thing. And now I'm doing my own thing. And our paths crossed in cyberspace, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So when you talk about short-term rentals, you're talking about vacation rentals, right?
Short term, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
It kind of
Airbnb and
depends on who
Verbo
you're
and stuff.
talking to because you have to be careful about, some people call them short term, some people call them vacation. I kind of condensed it to short term, but I usually will say STR/VR. So short term rentals, vacation rentals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what and the vernacular that seems to be bannered around a lot is Airbnb and Verbo and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah. So just real quick, you said that you were educated in music and then you made your way to teaching and now you're doing what you're doing. How was that transition when you went from your music career to business?
It was pretty smooth. It's pretty natural. So in college, I knew in college that I wanted to have a music school. And so I well, I should rewind a little bit. And when I first
Okay.
went to college, I said to my dad, I'm going to be a music major. And he said, well, that's good. Maybe you should study something else too. And I thought, okay, well, that's just probably dad being protective or whatever. But the more I thought about it, probably my second year into school, I was thinking, I would love to have a music school. And so I thought, well, music and business, that works really well.
Oh, yeah, that's what
So
music
I
school
did
is.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did do that. So I went down a music track and I went down a business analytics track. And so that was kind of undergrad. And then I went to grad school for music, because I felt like credential wise, if I wanted to have a music school, like the music
Sure.
part was probably the most
Yeah,
important thing.
yeah.
So I did that. And yeah, and so eventually, and then I eventually did the MBA almost by mistake. Not by mistake, but I never planned on doing it, that kind of thing. And and so when I had my music school, it was something that I always wanted to do. I did it, and at the time my husband was in the army, and so we were moving around. So I planned where I was going to have the school and all this stuff. And when we moved to Virginia, where I am now, it was really hard to have a business 3 states away, So I did sell the
Mm.
school. It is still in existence in Georgia. Um, and so it was always a dream come true for me. And then, I when we moved to Virginia, I taught music. I kind of performed really, really early on in my career, and taught like privately. And then, so I kind of had all these little things, but the Army moved you around a lot. So you were
Yeah.
used
Yeah.
to not being able to put down roots and just having to change things very quickly, kind of turn on a dime kind of thing. And so, transitions really didn't bother me too much. So when I left my school behind, which was very difficult for me,
Yeah.
I got into education, was teaching music, and then went through a divorce, and that divorce was really kind of a level set for me. And I was like,
Mm.
what am I gonna do?
Hmm.
And at that time, that's when I made the decision to kind of change paths. And that's when I went the more of the business kind of hospitality path. And here I am. I ended up doing revenue management
Wow.
on
Yeah.
short-term
Yeah.
rentals, vacation rentals. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you just never know, right?
No, you
And
don't.
but let me just say this. Thank you for your service. I know that you
Oh,
weren't, it was your husband who was in
it
the
was.
army, but you're just, we appreciate you just as much because you.
It's funny. I usually I will say that to spouses and
Hmm.
families as well, because
Hmm.
it's something that people a lot of times don't think about.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
the military, the service member has an immediate group of new coworkers, of new
Right.
missions,
Right.
of new
Right.
things, and then their family comes along and they're like, "Where's the grocery store?"
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Who
know.
who who who
Um,
are all these people? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And you have it's interesting because a lot of people, they start down one path and they end up on another path, and different responses to that transition. And I find it especially interesting because you had your dream. You fulfilled your dream and you had to leave it behind. And that's tough. That had to be really
Yeah.
tough, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty tough. But like you said, I realized it. I got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I knew going into, just the environment that I was in, that that could happen. I mean,
Yeah.
to be in a place for 2 years, 2.5 years was a huge deal. And to have that happen a couple times along the way
Wow.
was a huge deal. So I
Yeah.
feel very thankful for that. There are
Yeah.
people who do not have that longevity in certain places, and to have that, I thought was phenomenal, especially in hindsight. In the moment, you feel pretty bitter
Sure.
and you feel pretty, whatever. But
Yeah.
certainly in hindsight, it was a pretty big blessing.
Yeah. And then you had to go through the hardship of a divorce.
Yes.
And that's restarting your whole life all over again. And so
Yeah.
yeah, way to go. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Sometimes, the best thing you can do is just kind of look in the mirror and go, I made it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's
Congratulations.
right. That's right.
You
And
know?
what a tribute.
Um,
What a wonderful tribute, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that is awesome. That is awesome. So here's what I want to do. I want to share your list of 49 things because here's the thing. This is all about sharing, right? And it's about sharing what we've done and what we've experienced in your life, and so that people can take some of that and maybe apply it to their own lives, right? I'm going to go through it fast. I'm going to go through it fast. So everybody, don't worry about being a long list of reading. It's really a cool list. And but there's going to be a few that I'm going to want to ask you for some details on. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay, here we go. So she starts off again by saying, as I begin my 50th lap around the sun, I thought I'd share 49 things I've learned over my first 49 years. First one, when in doubt, request your attorney. Number two, oh, and by the way, I presume these are not in chronological order, so that didn't happen
No,
when you're 1 year old. Okay, good, good,
no
perfect.
particular order.
Okay. Number two, make hard copies of photos you love. How cool is that? Number three, always assume someone can hear your whispers. Save private conversations for private moments. There's a moment of wisdom for you. Number four, I want to ask you about this. If you have to ask yourself if you really need something, you don't. What do you mean by that?
Uh, I don't know that there's a lot of depth to that one.
Okay,
I think it's when, whether it's you're at the store and you're like, oh, I don't know, do I really need that shirt? No, you don't need another shirt. Have you
just
seen your
walk
closet? You
away.
have a closet full of a bunch of shirts. I really would like I'm gonna go get a latte. Do I really need a latte? No, you don't need to spend $7 on a latte. You can go get something at home. So I think applies to a lot of other things. Mostly, I think probably pretty shallow kind of things, but
Yeah, well,
even to deeper things too.
yeah, yeah.
But go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah,
I didn't
no,
want to.
one of the things I talk about on occasion is money. And,
Mm,
it's the little things that add up to big freaking things, right?
yes.
And it's the Starbucks every day that over the course of 30 years, if you save that money and you invest, it can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I wanted to share that with you because
Yeah,
I'm
no, and that's
believing in that.
that's something that I'm also very, I'm not stingy, but I'm frugal.
Yes,
And
yes.
so and so I feel like that's one of those things that, when you're younger, especially when I was younger, especially, it was the kind of thing where I wanted to walk around with the Starbucks in my hand, or I wanted to have shopping
Because
bags in
it's
my hand. And
cool.
it's
It's an ego
cool.
stroke. Yeah.
And then, you just, when you really evaluate that, you're like, yeah, I didn't need any of it. None of
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Well, that leads to your fifth one. It's be generous in all things, and then save more money than you think you should. Splurge on the good mattress and the good sheets. I love that. Keep TVs out of your room and dining room. Go hear live music. Keep a journal. If you have to use a public restroom, try to find a hotel. They're usually clean. And then number 12 is wear the right clothes for the right season. Put on a damn parka if you're visiting Minnesota in January. Number 13, don't break promises. Talk about that.
I think I think we've all been on both sides, right? When someone breaks a promise to you, you feel betrayed, you feel anger, you feel all sorts of things. None of which I think the person doing the promise breaking wanted you to feel, or sometimes didn't intend. Sometimes they do, I suppose, in more nefarious situations. But you know how that feels. And when you do it, I think it almost feels worse.
Yeah.
And it feels worse for me, and it can be a small promise, it can be a big promise. I remember, of all the promises I think about one when my daughter was in kindergarten, and I worked, and so she went to an aftercare program every day. And one day I said, you know what, I'm going to come pick you up, I don't have to work. And so she was so excited that I was going to come get her. She didn't have to go to aftercare. And I got hung up. I don't
Yeah.
even remember where I was, because it doesn't even matter. I got
Yeah.
hung up somewhere, and I was late, and she had to go to aftercare. And I will never forget her
Oh,
little face when I got there and
yeah.
she was sitting in aftercare. And I just remember thinking, that is not worth it. Whatever that was that I was doing
Yeah.
wasn't worth that little face
Yeah.
of disappointment. And it's not always like that. But when you're making a promise, you are saying that you're going to do something. And, there are ways to say, I'm going to do my best to try to get there. And it's possible that, you
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
when you make a
Yeah.
promise,
Yeah.
that's not something
I
I
love
want to
it.
break.
I
So
love it. I love it. Warren Buffett once famously said, "People don't remember price, but they do remember how you treat them." And
absolutely.
it's likewise. People often don't remember promises kept, but they do remember promises broken. And so yeah, that's really wonderful. Um, don't drink and drive. Number 15 is the rule of mastery is 10 years. It takes working at something for 10 years, for at least 3 hours a day to master it. Success generally doesn't come quickly or easily. 16, vet bills are always high. Always. Number seven. So note this when you're getting into buying a pet. Okay. Number 17. Change your home's air filters every quarter. That sounds like a learned experience. And this is a really good one. Bring a host or hostess gift when visiting someone's home. If you don't know them well, don't bring alcohol or food with nuts. I believe in that to the very core of my being, Sarah, that you do not come to someone's home empty-handed.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that the invitation into something as intimate and personal as your home um, is is a gift in itself. Um, I don't
Absolutely.
say bring a hostess gift or host or hostess gift because you're trying to reciprocate, but I think to show your appreciation and your gratitude for that kind of invitation, which again, I
Right.
think is an invitation into your most intimate um, area, physical area of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And you give us guidelines too. Don't bring alcohol. Don't bring food with nuts, which is great. All right. Number 19, be direct. Confrontation doesn't have to be negative. Number 20, send Christmas cards. 21, tip 20% or more. 22, if it's not your moment, don't be a distraction. I love that. Number 23, leave things better than when you found them. Talk about that.
Mhm. Um, Things like, we are talking about the home, people inviting you to their home. Sometimes they invite you to stay. Sometimes you have family members come and take care of your home. Sometimes you go and take care of other things. Um, I always believe in, better is subjective. So, you're always gonna, you know, have questions about what does that really mean? But I
Yep.
think it means what it means for you. If you
Yes.
are giving somebody the honor of being in a space of yours, and I'm just kind of using the home care
Hmm.
example, you know, that's a big deal. Somebody is trusting you with something.
Yep.
Um, and that trust should be protected at all costs. And so one way that I think you demonstrate that you're protecting that is by treating it well and hopefully showing the host or whoever's, given you opened up their trust to you, they can see that and that's reflected. I just think that's really important. I mean, if you're at a place and you can do the dishes and they're not done, you do them. Clean up
Yes.
their
Yes.
bathroom. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be anything big. Just
That's right.
do something as a gesture to show your
Exactly.
gratitude. I think that's important.
Exactly. Exactly. The Boy Scouts have a little saying that says leave no trace. I've grown up with that. I love it. And of course, I believe that we all have a shared common purpose, and that is to make this world better than the day we landed on it. So I love that. I love that. Leave things better than when you found them. Okay, number 24. This is great. If you learn that someone hasn't read or seen or heard of something you think that they should have, don't shame them by saying, I can't believe you never seen, heard, or read that. That's rude. Perfect. Number 25, don't pry and don't gossip. Number 26, keep a roadside emergency kit in your car. And number 27, I want you to talk about this. Know how to change a tire.
Never know.
You
You
just
never
never
know when
know.
it's going to be you. You never know when it's going to be you, and you never know when it's going to be somebody that you know or somebody that you're with. And I just think that's one of the greatest life skills ever. My dad did never he never let me drive even the car when I was learning how to drive. He didn't let me even like get behind the wheel with him until I knew how to change a tire,
That's
until I knew
amazing.
how to put chains on the tires. I mean,
There you
he
go.
was just like, nope. And it's one of those things that's so dang practical, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, totally. I had when my son, he's my oldest, got his driver's license. I took him and his buddy uh, and pulled over on a freeway, a very large freeway, a 5-lane freeway each way. And I had him change a tire and on the freeway, because you do not realize how fast these cars are going by until you are standing there. And of course, teaching them how to find a safe place as far away from the traffic lanes as possible. But I love that. I love that too, because it's a metaphor for life. Like you said,
Mm,
you never know, right? And be prepared. Be prepared.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. So number 28, if you live where it snows a lot, make sure you can put on chains. You said that. Number 29, and I love this, no phones at dinner. Keep the phones away from dinner. Have the conversation. Number 30, pay artists for music, downloads, photographs, etc. Just because you can take them easily doesn't mean you should. The artist deserves to be paid. And folks, that involves everybody. That involves everybody, not just artists. You have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, I think it intellectual property, whatever you want
Yes.
to call it, creative,
Yes.
whatever, that is somebody's. And I think the one that maybe the one that follows or something or shortly after is, if you don't know, then say that. Because I realize sometimes,
Yeah.
if you do share things, you don't really know the original source. I think it's responsible to say, I don't know the original source here, so I'm not going to take credit for it. But, give credit where credit is due when you can. And if you don't know, then just say it. It's not a big deal.
Absolutely. And that has to do with business meetings too. That has to do with being
Mhm.
at work. If someone else came up with the idea, give them credit for it,
Ah,
right? Don't
yeah.
take it for your own. It just it doing otherwise it just darkens your heart, you know?
Yeah, and I think
And
a lot of times people will take credit for things because I think it makes them look better. I think it makes people look amazing when they can credit other people. When they can
exactly,
say,
right?
Jane came up with
Yeah,
this idea and it was
great point.
I mean, that says a lot to me about a person when they can do that.
Great point. A wonderful point. All right, good. Um, be on time. Be on time, folks. I mean, that's just manners. Be on time, say please, and say thank you. That's a whole nother topic. I'm just going to say this, Sarah. You know, I've been keeping track of who says thank you to me. And it is
Mm.
amazing how few people say thank you, especially when you go into a store. Starbucks, they never say thank you. Guess what? I'm saying thank you to them. And they either say one of three things: no problem, um, of course, and no worries. And they never say thank you. I say thank you. They never say no, thank you for coming and please come back. Never happens.
And
Say
I think a
thank you.
lot of that is cultural too, right?
It
Like it's
is. It
we've
is.
just learned to just say, "Oh yeah, no problem, no worries. You're all
Yeah.
good."
But
And it's and that is supposed to mean the same thing. And to
and
carry the same weight.
exactly. But I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. This is something I speak quite a bit on. Relationships start with hello. Lasting relationships start with thank you. And
Mm.
I'm going to do a whole podcast on that. And so it starts with appreciation. So yeah, okay. So enough said on that. I'm sorry I got on to preaching. Okay,
Oh.
so negotiation. Know all sides. Know both sides. Know all three sides, and know the value of what you're asking for. Number 34. It's never the right time. Just do it. Number 35. Floss. Number 36. Wear slippers in hotels. There's something to think about. Number 37, tip your housekeeper, including in hotels. When you stay in a hotel, leave a $5 bill or a $10 bill under the pillow, right? Because it makes a difference to those folks too. 38, don't chintz on pens, toilet paper, or garage bags. There's some wisdom there. 39, never start a physical altercation, but if you find yourself in the middle of one, fight like hell. This is a great one. Number 40, when you're apologizing, don't use the word but. Sarah?
Mm. Um, one of the things that I've unfortunately had experience that I've experienced in my life is people in my life have substance abuse issues. And one of the things that I've learned from them very this is an amazing gift that I've been given with that kind of experience in my life is that I think some of the most humble, genuine people are people in recovery. And one of the things that they learn is to just take ownership and to apologize and to come clean about what um their role is. I mean, people can be terrible people, and maybe you're apologizing to a terrible human being who's done terrible things. But I've never seen such humility, other than outside of that community, and they have dialed in how to apologize. And it's not like, I'm really sorry I did this, but I was, well, or I'm really sorry that I did this, but it's no, it's just, I'm
Exactly.
sorry. I
Yes.
wronged
Yes.
you. I wronged you and I apologize. And that to me, when I was on the receiving end of that, um, that struck me. And that has always
Yeah.
sat with me. And so when I apologize to somebody, that is always in my mind, that fight the urge to say but,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
to
Yeah.
to somehow, put some sort of caveat in there. No, it's not. You did something wrong. Just, I did a terrible thing. I am very sorry. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry for hurting you.
That's wonderful
Um,
because the
yeah,
word but invalidates it,
it
right?
does.
It
It
puts conditions
completely,
around it. And that
completely, completely.
yeah, that's awesome. All right. Number 41, buy the shoes. Number 42, respond to texts and emails. A simple thank you or got it lets the sender know you received the message. Number 43, read books. Number 44, make friends with people older than you and listen to them. Old people represent the greatest demographic of experience and wisdom on planet Earth, and yet we don't recognize them that way. Um, I love that. I love that. Go on vacation at least once a year. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to add a moment to that. At least for 2 weeks, especially if
Yes.
you're a manager or a leader, because when you go away for 1 week, guess what everybody does? They go, "Oh, Sarah's going to be back in a week, so I'll just wait for her." When you go away for 2 weeks, they have to figure it out. And you want a lot of leaders want them to figure it out. And the other thing is that when you go off to on vacation for a couple of weeks, it gives everybody else permission to go off on vacation for a couple of weeks.
That's
So
right. That's right. And a lot of times you don't get the chance to completely relax if you don't go
it
for an
takes a
extended
week
period
just
of
to
time. It
detox.
takes a
Yeah.
week. Yeah, it
Yeah,
does. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. It's the second week that's vacation. So
Yes.
yeah, um, be a mentor to somebody. That's a wonderful gift. Resist the urge to Google everything. Enjoy wondering. I love that. 48. Just because something is effective or productive doesn't mean it's right. Just because we don't like something or it's inconvenient doesn't mean it's wrong. And the last one, which I may love the most, peace is greater than being right. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. And that's come up in a lot of situations in my life. You can be absolutely right about something. You could look outside and say the sky is blue, and if you have somebody, who is going to fight you on that, the sky is green, you can fight, but is that fight worth it? Depending, that relationship is worth something, and you have to be able to choose those battles. And, sometimes just letting it go is going to give you more peace. It's going to give them more peace. It's going to be best for your relationship. It's not always going to be that way, but sometimes it's worth more. And I remember a former student of mine um was in a terrible car accident, lost her life probably 15 years ago. I don't know what it was. Um, uh, Tractor trailer ran a light and
Ugh.
T-boned her. I mean, it was full speed. And I remember, somebody saying, just in the news, she had the right of way or whatever, and she didn't look. And it was one of those things that's a terrible tragedy to think about, but it's also applicable in that, because it's like, you have the green light. You have the green light and you can go, you have the permission, but sometimes you still need to turn your head. And that's not a critique of her at all. I mean, that's not where I'm going with this. But sometimes you have the green light and it is you. It's all you. You can go. You've got all the permissions in the world. But do you? Should you? And that was just that was a really hard thing, because it was a difficult thing to listen to in the news. Well, she had the right of way, but you wanted to be like, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a terrible situation, but it's that kind of same thing can apply to a bunch of other
Oh my God.
situations in life. You could be very right. You are the righteous on the righteous side, and you just got to look right or left. And,
Yeah. Yeah. I
do you
mean,
want to be righteous, or do you want to be okay?
exactly. And you can be right 100% of the time, and that's okay. But at the same time, it's also okay to let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that. Peace is greater than being right. Hey, so this has been the fastest episode I've ever had. I mean, we're already at 30 minutes. One of the things that I do want to talk with you about, and and if you're up for it, you
Sure.
may say, John, I never want to come back and on this podcast again. But if you would if you would, I'd love to have you come back because one of the things I'd like to talk with you, with regards to your experience in technology and your experience in teaching and your experience in building schools, I mean, it's wonderful, wonderful experience, is talking about social media and technology, the good, the bad, the ugly, and notably, as we will talk about those things, what can people do, especially with their young people, because I feel like technology and social media has been as wonderful as it has been for society and moving us forward. There has been a really sharp edge on that other side.
Mhm.
And talk about unintended consequences or intended consequences, even worse, right?
Yeah.
And so, folks, I'm sorry, I don't, I'm gonna end it here. But Sarah, I would love to have you come back, and talk about that topic for a little
Yeah,
bit
I would
because I
love to.
think that would
I feel
help.
it's very close to me, close to my heart, close to, what I think about a lot. So yeah, I would love to talk about that sometime.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, listen, you're amazing. You're amazing, and thank you for putting together that list. Thank you for
Oh my
putting together
goodness.
that list of.
Well, thank you for reaching out. This was really cool to be able to have a conversation with you. You're someone I've known about from afar for a good long while, so it is an absolute pleasure to get to talk to you, to
Oh my
meet you,
gosh, pleasure's mine.
and for you to invite me here was very meaningful. So thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you, and for sure, for sure. And so, folks, subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe because we'll let you know when Sarah's coming back, which will be sooner than later. And also, folks, share this episode with three people, right? And give them the benefit of learning learning from Sarah's wisdom. It's so awesome. I love that. And so
Oh,
with that, Sarah, thank you. Last thing, how if people want to find you or and learn about you, where can they go?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So LinkedIn, I think it's at Sarah Franzen is my little tag. I don't even know how that really works.
I
I
don't either.
I
I
don't
just
know.
searched
But
on
just
Sarah
look
Franzen.
for me,
Yeah.
Sarah Franzen. My mug is up there. You'll see me. There randomly there are two Asian Sarah Franzens that pop up. So I don't know. So I'm one of them. Um,
Well, you know what she
and
looks like. You're looking at her right now. So
yes. And I'm also my website is revzen.com. REV as in revenue, zen.com.
Zen. So
Zen.
Revzen. And her last name is spelled Franzen, Franzen.
Zen.
So Sarah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody out there, God bless you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.